Welcome wine lovers to our channel Uncorked. My name is Roland Zimmermann and I'm here today to talk to you about rosé wine. Sit tight, stick around, grab a glass, and we'll get right to it. For those of you that have been anxiously waiting for this video, we have tried our best to answer all the questions we frequently get about rosé. Probably one of the top ones that we get all the time is rosé wine a red or a white wine? What is rosé? How is it made? And is rosé wine usually sweet? What are some rosé cocktails that you recommend? And what are some of the rosé wine pairings that I can try at home? So, all very good questions, absolutely. And we'll get to them in no time flat. So, first question, it's going to be a bit technical, so sit tight, start sipping, by all means, get ready. So, rosé is usually a wine made either out of a blend of red and white wine, or it is a red grape that is processed like a white wine. These are really the two most common ways to make rosé in the wine world, and it's usually a small percentage of white that is blended into the red just to get it to lighten up a little bit. Now we here do also make a rosé. Our princess is the rosé wine that I'm thinking of specifically, and it is made with Cabernet Franc grapes, which are pressed like white grapes. So it's a very, very short maceration period, which means a very, very short skin contact. So a very little of the color from the actual grapes gets transferred into the finished wine product. We then take that really light red or rosé wine and actually add a little bit of white to it just to give it that little bit of smoothness or whatever else the winemaker feels that it's missing. The second question that we commonly get is, what is rosé? Although I've tried to kind of answer that in a quick roundabout way, what most people still have a lot of confusion about is the fact that it is actually red grapes that make the rosé. It's just that the red grapes aren't in contact with the juice during the fermentation for an extended period of time, which extracts the color and the tannins and that particular flavor. The red grapes are basically processed like white grapes super fast, meaning very, very low skin contact, very short maceration periods in order to ensure that just a little bit of color gets extracted and as much flavor as can be from the juice itself. That's how we do it here internally at King's Court. And by all means, love to have you come and try it. So the next question that we get asked is rosé wine sweet? This is typically how a lot of wineries produce their rosé. There are other rosés styles that we are currently experimenting with that make rosé as dry as possible, as a regular dry white wine. And what I mean by that is it has under 5 grams of residual sugar. The trick is, though, is to balance the acidity that comes from this quick processing of the red grapes like a white wine with the existing flavors that are present in the particular juice of the grape that we chose to make the rosé wine from. So sit tight with us. We're still working on a couple of trials, but I think we'll have something for you in the near future. So getting to one of my favorite newest trends is rosé wine cocktails. Now, these are things such as frosé or rosé sangria, or one of my personal favorites is rosé raspberry sorbet mimosas. Delicious. They are absolutely divine. You can use just about any rosé for them, and stick around for our next set of videos. In the future, we may be doing some cocktail videos specifically with rosé. Although I do have to say that our Princess Rosé, and as a frozen princess, sorry, couldn't help myself, is absolutely delicious. come to our patio, try it sometime in the summer. The final question that we frequently get is rosé wine pairings. Now, this is definitely one of the challenges for rosés, because it's not really a white wine, but it's also not really a red wine. It's sort of the middle child, if you will. It sort of lives in both worlds. My personal favorite is actually ribs with rosé. I know that sounds very counterintuitive, but it's a nice dry rub that my family puts on the ribs, and we barbecue them until they're perfect, and then we have rosé with it. The acidity, the crispness of the rosé seems to really enhance the flavors of the spicier rub that we put on the ribs itself. And our rosé, the Princess, she is a little bit sweet, so she does have about 10 to 12 grams of residual sugar, and that helps to also balance the heat from the spice of the ribs. Other pairings that I know have done quite well is even with cheeses. Rosés do pair well with cheeses. They're a little, like I said, they're a little bit in the red wine and a little bit in the white wine category in terms of what you can do. They are far more versatile than either whites or reds because of that. One of our other favorites is just sipping the rosé chilled nicely. You can try it at home and see a world of difference if you take a glass of rosé out of the fridge freshly, or you put one on the counter, and see how much of a difference those two flavor profiles, how much the temperature affects the flavor profile of the exact same wine out of the same bottle. It's amazing, and therefore it does provide a great sense of pairings or different pairings that you can do with it. Some other ones that I would highly recommend would be a curry, would be definitely on one of the top of my lists. I have definitely paired it personally with a whole bunch of salmon dishes. Great. Absolutely wonderful, even though it is a little tricky if the salmon doesn't have a very strong marinade with it. But those would be my suggestions. Thank you very much for listening. Please drop us a like, and we look forward to seeing you again soon. Stick around.